There are houses that don't need shadows to send chills down your spine. Because the truly terrifying thing is what happened inside those walls before they were left abandoned. A house that was once a warm home, now just a pile of ruins. But its past never stays silent. And the name of the man who once lived there was Johnnie Taylor,
Low down, dirty shame.
a soul music legend, a golden voice, an icon, and the center of a string of tragedies. Even in death, pain surrounded him, heirs fighting over his estate, accusations, criticisms, and buried secrets unearthed. Why couldn't a man who sang of love hold his family together? Why did a legend die alone, leaving behind a legacy tangled in contradictions and haunting memories? The answers will unfold as you watch this video to the end. On May 5, 1934, in a rickety wooden house in the heart of Crawfordsville, Arkansas, a tiny, dust-covered town where the sun seemed to scorch away all hope, a child's cry broke the silence. They named him Johnnie Harrison Taylor, small and frail. He came into this world like a grain of sand in a harsh desert, with no one imagining that his name would one day echo through American music, tied to tragedies that would wrench hearts. Abandoned early by his mother. In August 1936, Johnnie was sent to live with his grandmother in West Memphis, Arkansas. She was a gaunt, devout woman, strict but the only anchor in his unsteady childhood. Her small house sat tucked away in a poor rural pocket, where morning prayers from the nearby church mingled with the thick smell of wood smoke, etching themselves into Johnnie's memory. His childhood revolved around church services, where faith was planted in hearts like a sacred flame. In June 1940, at just 6 years old, Johnnie stood in the choir, his young voice carrying raw emotion that left the congregation stunned. Each note was a silent prayer, each lyric a cry from a heart stifled by poverty. His neighbor was Junior Parker, a blues artist who strummed his guitar, singing of distant dreams in Memphis. Johnnie listened secretly, his soul torn between the holiness of the church and the wild freedom of the blues, a quiet but profound struggle that would shape his entire life. In March 1944, his grandmother moved the family to Kansas City, Missouri, hoping for a better start. But the city wasn't as kind as she'd hoped. Crowded streets, blaring car horns, and the heavy industrial air only made Johnnie feel more lost. Under her strict guidance, he joined the gospel group Melody Kings. One cloudy afternoon, he met Sam Cooke. Sam, with his bright smile and soulful voice, became his first true companion. Their bond, both close and distant, always carried a subtle rivalry, planting seeds for later cracks. Johnnie's childhood lacked proper schooling. The church and music were his only true home. He practiced his voice until it grew hoarse, learning to pour emotion into every breath. Yet his grandmother's stern warnings about the temptations and sins of the world only fueled his longing to break free from control. He wanted a different life, bigger, freer. By mid-1950, at 16, Johnnie started sneaking into bars where blues artists performed with raw passion, a world where he felt unbound by rigid doctrine. 3 years later, Johnnie left Kansas City, breaking free from family constraints, chasing his musical dreams to Chicago, the city ablaze with soul and blues, neon lights, saxophone wails, and the relentless pace overwhelmed him, but also sparked excitement. Within months of wandering studios, he joined the doo-wop group Five Echoes and stepped into Chance Records' studio, recording his first song, Somewhere to Lay My Head. His powerful, heartfelt voice instantly stood out. But early success couldn't sustain his dreams. He sang in run-down clubs for spare change, living in a rat-infested apartment, weighed down by loneliness and the pain of his mother's abandonment. At the same time, Johnnie stayed tied to gospel, joining the Highway QCs where Sam Cooke had once shone. Though Sam kept in touch, comparisons between them grew sharp. Whispers in the industry that Johnnie was just Sam's shadow became an obsession, hurt by the slight. He burned to prove himself distinct, independent, worthy. But Chicago's grind was unforgiving, torn between ambition and reality, faith and temptation. Johnnie veered toward dangerous paths. Drinking, smoking, and heavier vices crept into his life quietly, then ravaged it. One September night in 1955, he stumbled drunk from a bar, dragged off by police like a common criminal in the glittering city he'd once dreamed of conquering. That first stain on his young reputation was a warning of the chaos looming ahead. March 1957 marked a turning point. When Sam Cooke left the Soul Stirrers for a solo career, Johnnie, at just 23, took over as lead singer of the legendary gospel group from New York to Atlanta. Their shows didn't just showcase his voice but cemented his image, a young singer with a burning inner fire, delivering the love of God and Stand By Me Father with raw intensity. Yet that light couldn't pierce the growing conflicts within him. Gospel's rigid rules felt like a cage trapping his nameless desire for freedom. Everything crashed on a sweltering night in late June 1960, after a Chicago performance. Johnnie drove off, half drunk, half dazed. Drugs, once a fleeting escape from pressure, betrayed him. His car slammed into a pole, the screech of metal shattering the night. No one died, but the accident sent shockwaves. From a sacred figure in the gospel community, Johnnie was branded a fallen man. The Soul Stirrers cut ties immediately. His reputation crumbled, trust collapsed, and in one night, Johnnie slid into despair. A month later, unable to bear the pressure, he drifted to Los Angeles, briefly trying preaching, but his heart wasn't in it. As he faltered, Sam Cooke appeared like a final ray of warmth, with his old friend's encouragement. Johnnie left gospel behind and embraced secular music with all his soul. In October 1960, he signed with SR Records, Sam's label. A new chapter began, but Johnnie couldn't foresee the storms ahead. From the start, his choice wasn't forgiven. The community that once lifted him up now called him a sellout. Harsh criticism surrounded him, leaving wounds that wouldn't heal. Strong on stage but fragile in quiet moments, he began doubting himself. Yet secular music gave him what gospel couldn't: freedom, honesty, and unbridled emotion. In February 1961, he recorded his first tracks for SR. Things seemed to be falling into place. But by late 1964, an irreparable loss struck. Sam Cooke was killed in a mysterious shooting. The death of his friend, mentor, and rival shattered Johnnie's world. SR Records collapsed soon after, and once again, he fell into darkness. Lost and anchorless, Johnnie headed to Memphis, the sacred city of soul and blues. In March 1965, amid Beale Street's soulful melodies, he bet everything on one last chance. Memories of the crash, the rejection, fueled the resolve in his eyes as he walked into Stax Records. By May 1966, he signed with them. It wasn't just a contract, it was a rebirth, backed by talents like Booker T and the MGs, Isaac Hayes, and David Porter. Johnnie was reborn in music. They called him the Philosopher of Soul, a grand title that piled on pressure. In the studio, he was a warrior, singing with the pain of a man pushed to the margins. Once called a traitor, music was his weapon, his statement, his last salvation. But glory always came with cracks. Stax pushed for commercial hits, while Johnnie fought to preserve the raw soul he'd learned from Kansas City's blues nights. From Junior Parker, from his own pain. Tensions in the studio grew stifling. Johnnie refused to compromise. He didn't sing for charts or to please the label, but for the deep, nameless emotions within. His resolve paid off. On August 15, 1968, everything changed. Who's Making Love hit the airwaves and exploded. With a voice that tore through the air, Johnnie stood on stage, sweating under bright lights, pouring his life into every line. The song topped the R&B charts, hit number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100, sold over 1 million copies, and earned a gold record from a gospel outcast. Johnnie became a blazing star. But fame came at a steep cost. Stax kept pushing him toward market-friendly sounds, demanding catchy, sellable tunes. Johnnie just wanted to stay true to his music. Clashes with producers grew heated. He felt like a hit-making machine, suffocated between commercial demands and the artist screaming inside. While crowds cheered, Johnnie fought alone to hold on to his soul. Success kept rolling. In 1969, Take Care of Your Homework hit number 2 on the R&B charts. And by 1971, Jodie's Got Your Girl and Gone dominated radio with another number 1 spot. Johnnie Taylor became a household name in clubs and stages across America, but behind the spotlight, a harsh reality crept in. His personal life, once hoped to be a lasting haven, began to fracture. In June 1970, he married Gurleen Rockett, a strong, patient woman. But her patience wore thin as Johnnie changed. She wanted a stable home. He was lost in endless tours. Rumors of affairs spread, and Gurleen, in silent endurance, saw her husband slipping away in what he called success. In the early 1970s, hits like I Believe in You, You Believe in Me, and Cheaper to Keep Her cemented his place in music. Each song touched listeners' hearts but drained the man singing them. Grueling tour schedules left him exhausted, and when alcohol and cigarettes couldn't ease the stress, stronger substances crept in, clouding his mind in lonely hotel rooms after stage highs. Johnnie punched walls, trashed rooms, and screamed in drunken rages, trapped in a role that wasn't truly him. In December 1975, at the peak of his fame, Stax Records, his musical home, declared bankruptcy. His dream collapsed like a sandcastle in a storm. At 41, Johnnie was lost again, betrayed by the world that once crowned him. But within 2 months, Columbia Records welcomed him with grand promises. Though he didn't care for disco, the genre sweeping the market, he joined the game. He needed salvation, whether through money, fame, or just a reason to keep going. In April 1976, his album Eargasm launched Disco Lady to the top. The song not only hit #1 but became the first platinum single in history. Johnnie was everywhere: TV, magazines, a sought-after star. Yet behind the smile and flashy suits, he resisted. He never loved Disco Lady. To him, it betrayed the soul music he cherished, the music of raw, heartfelt stories. While Columbia chased danceable beats, Johnnie yearned for something deeper, truer. Fame brought much wealth, acclaim, but also swept him into a whirlwind with no escape. Lavish spending, endless parties, and mounting debts piled up. Friends, colleagues, even strangers became unwilling lenders as he borrowed to cover cars or bar tabs. Gurleen, alone in an empty house, watched his decline in silence. She tried to hold him back, but fame drowned her voice. Rumors of secret children and murky affairs grew louder. Out of love, she stayed, but the cracks in their marriage couldn't be hidden, and the ache in her heart deepened. By 1978, Columbia kept pushing disco despite shifting tastes. Later albums flopped and fans turned away. Johnnie, with all his experience and talent, was boxed into a fleeting star's image. In June 1980, he left Columbia bitter, feeling like a stifled artist, reduced to a market product, once lifted to glory by Disco Lady. He was now cast aside as a relic of a faded era. The philosopher of soul became a faint memory in a fast-changing industry. As disco died, so did the light on Johnnie. He returned to Dallas, settling in a small Duncanville house, a quiet but confining suburb. The old home, with peeling white paint and a weed-choked yard, mirrored his state, drained, lost, and scarred invisibly. At 46, he stood at a crossroads. Fame waned, money dried up, and his home life faltered. Gurleen, his wife since the early 70s, stayed by him, raising their kids, but their marriage was a cracked glass ready to shatter. Johnnie, consumed by tours, was rarely home. His kids grew up in his absence, seeing him as a distant shadow. Gurleen, in the quiet of long nights, barely recognized the man who once stole her heart. Whispers of his affairs and hidden children swirled, her eyes heavy with unspoken pain, a silence louder than words. Friends and family began to criticize, saying he was never a true father. That music always came first. Those words, though never spoken to his face, reached him. Regret flickered briefly, but he drowned it in revelry. In March 1981, Johnnie took a job as a DJ at Dallas's KKDA. Dubbed the Wailer, though steady and respected, the role cut at his pride, from commanding stages before thousands. He now sat in a cramped studio playing other songs. His radio voice remained warm, but beneath it lingered weariness and bitterness. He longed to perform, the fire in him still burning, but the spotlight was now a memory, and his old fans had moved on to newer names. Just when all seemed lost, September 1982 brought a chance. He signed with Beverly Glen Records, a small but bold label. There, he recorded just ain't good enough, with What About My Love unexpectedly climbing the R&B charts. Though no disco lady, it rekindled his hope. He returned to southern stages on the Chitlin circuit, where soul and blues still thrived. Small, sweaty venues with meager pay couldn't restore his old glory, but Johnny sang with all he had, clinging to the last piece of his soul. In July 1984, after attending ZZ Hill's funeral, another turning point came. Malaco Records, a southern soul and blues label, invited him to join. On August 15th, he entered their Jackson, Mississippi studio, determined to rise again. Unlike Columbia or Stax, Malaco let him sing soulful ballads and blues steeped in his own pain, like his life's chapters told through music. From 1984 to 2000, he released 10 albums with Malaco, each a fragment of memory, a voice from a heart cracked but unyielding. Good Love in 1996 hit #1 on the blues chart and cracked the R&B top 20. At 62, Johnny burned with the energy of a man who'd found his lost soul amid endless struggles. Yet his personal life remained a mess. His relationships with his kids grew tangled with the emergence of children born outside his marriage. The 6 children he shared with Gerline couldn't silence rumors of others. In May 1985, after a show, a young woman claiming to be his daughter appeared at his door. Johnny brushed her off. But Gerline, watching silently, felt her heart crushed by truths he never faced. Their fights needed no shouting or thrown objects, each word and glance cut deep. Gerline pressed for answers he wouldn't give, and he answered with heavy silence. The distance between him and his family grew. Some of his kids, raised without him, harbored resentment, feeling he chose the stage over home, fame's glow outshining their waiting eyes. Financial strain added to the chaos. Despite Malaco hits, Johnny lived on the edge. In the 80s and 90s, he spent beyond his means to maintain a star's image. Luxury cars, fine suits, and industry parties drained his thin wallet. In March 1990, a close friend revealed he'd borrowed money to pay the electric bill for the Duncanville house. Yet, his music soared. In October 1999, Gotta Get the Groove Back earned a Grammy nomination, a rare late-career milestone. That year, he received the Rhythm and Blues Foundation's Pioneer Award, honoring his enduring contributions. Soul Heaven. His final recording in December felt like a haunting farewell, singing of a heavenly stage with legends like Otis Redding and Sam Cooke. His voice remained strong, but his body was worn. Tours on the Chitlin circuit continued relentlessly. Long nights, stuffy buses, and makeshift stages sapped his strength. Close associates later said that in late 1999, Johnny often spoke of constant fatigue and fleeting chest pains, but he pressed on. He had to. Music was the only thing keeping him upright amid the wreckage. No one saw his complaints as a final warning. In May 2000, it all hit bottom. On May 10th, Gerline filed for divorce, ending 3 decades of an unfulfilled marriage. Though reluctant, Johnny didn't fight it. He knew their bond was beyond repair. He moved alone to the old Duncanville house, where only the hum of a staticky TV and drafts through loose windows kept him company. His children, especially those unacknowledged, began demanding recognition, facing them. Johnny was at a loss. He felt failure not just with family, but with himself. Then came the cruelest day. On May 31st, 2000, while sitting in his living room, a sharp chest pain struck. He tried to stand, but his weary body failed. He collapsed, gasping. A neighbor heard the noise, called 911. Johnny was rushed to Charlton Methodist Hospital in Dallas, but it was too late. A heart attack took him. His death stunned the music world. Johnnie Taylor, whose voice moved millions, was gone, leaving a glittering but fractured legacy. His death wasn't the end, but the start of new tragedies. As he took his last breath, buried family secrets surfaced. The Duncanville house where he fell became a symbol of his complex life glory mixed with loneliness, triumph laced with pain. In June 2000, days after his funeral at Forest Hill Cemetery in Kansas City, Missouri, the family's silence broke. 3 strangers emerged, claiming to be his children, backed by DNA from affairs Johnny never admitted to Gerline. On June 15, 2000, a young woman claiming to be his daughter visited a Dallas lawyer to see his will. The news spread like wildfire, shocking fans. Johnny's 1998 will named only his 6 children with Gurleen, ignoring others. His legal family, especially Gurleen, pushed back, accusing the newcomers of profiteering. But they wouldn't stay quiet, sharing stories of rejected outreach, closed doors, and a longing for recognition. One son, born from a brief 70s fling, said he sought not money but dignity denied too long. In the Taylor family, dignity became a battleground, where honor and hurt clashed endlessly. The conflict didn't stop there. In September 2000, a legal war erupted. Johnny's children, recognized and newly claimed, sued Sony, which held rights to hits like Who's Making Love and Disco Lady. They found murky contract terms, with most profits never reaching the family. Anger grew as they realized Johnny's talent was exploited even in life, without fair reward. By late 2000, court hearings turned tense, reopening old wounds. Each session deepened family rifts, turning a quest for justice into a cycle of distrust and resentment. In 2001, family conflict spilled into the open. Legitimate children publicly criticized their unacknowledged siblings, suspecting greed. Those sidelined felt like outsiders, denied their heritage. Years of pent-up frustration fueled disputes, making the family saga tabloid fodder. Johnny's image dimmed under headlines of lawsuits and scandals. In May 2002, the Sony lawsuit intensified. The family learned Johnny's songs, especially Disco Lady, still generated big money from radio ads and streaming. Yet they received pennies, barely covering legal fees. Some suspected Gurleen had signed bad deals with Sony during Johnny's life. Amid the storm of doubt, Gurleen lived quietly in Duncanville, carrying the weight of the past. But Johnny's reckless spending and wild lifestyle had left a mess no one could untangle. While the family grappled with lawsuits and strife, Johnny's musical legacy faded. On June 15, 2002, he was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame, a moment meant to celebrate his voice. But media focused on scandals, secret children, Sony battles. Sensational stories pained fans who wanted to remember Johnny through Who's Making Love or Soul Heaven. But backstage drama clung to his name like stubborn dust. In 2005, the lawsuit saw a breakthrough. On March 20th, a court ordered Sony to disclose financial records tied to Johnny's royalties. Though a victory, the payout after legal fees was a fraction of his music's worth. In May, a son spoke out in an interview, pained that, even in death, his father was robbed. The case dragged until 2010, settling out of court with undisclosed terms. By then, the Taylor family was broken. Disputes, doubts, and deep hurts left gaps too wide to mend, and a legacy forever stained by tragedy. The Duncanville house, where Johnny died in May 2000, was once a home but became a symbol of irreparable loss. After his funeral, Gurleen sold it, cutting ties with a heavy past. No one blamed her. Those walls held not just faded glory but silent darkness, lonely nights, fights, and Johnny's battles with himself. The modest one-story house, with 3 bedrooms, a weed-strewn yard, and peeling white paint, showed no trace of a music legend. But for Gurleen, every corner held memories. When it was sold to the Martinez family from Houston, it seemed the story would end. They saw a fresh start, affordable, convenient, peaceful. They didn't know the history behind those walls. In March 2001, a new twist drew attention. A man claiming to be Johnny's unacknowledged son stood silently outside the fence, staring in. Never having met his father, it was his only attempt to connect with his world. The Martinezes, unsettled by the attention, saw the story inflate into a local headline. The house became a flashpoint between private grief and public curiosity. Trouble persisted. In 2003, one of Johnny's recognized daughters objected to the house's sale, claiming it was rushed and might hold vital documents tied to his musical legacy, though unproven. Her words burdened the Martinezes. Unwanted calls, media scrutiny, and fans treating the house like a shrine replaced the peace they'd hoped for, leaving them uneasy in a storm not their own. By 2015, exhaustion won. The house was demolished for a new apartment complex. No trace of Johnny remained, no photos, no plaque, no relics. Only whispered stories and faded memories lingered in the neighborhood. Some swore on quiet nights. They heard a soulful, weathered voice singing from where the living room once stood. Though raised, That house remains a symbol of an unforgettable tragedy, a place where a man gave his life to music but never found peace in his own home. In 2022, Johnny's Blues Hall of Fame honor reminded the world of his true legacy. Tracks like Disco Lady and I Believe in You still play, reviving soul's magic. Young artists remix his work, and documentaries feature his voice. But alongside the tribute lingers sadness. People recall not just his powerful voice but the fractures of his private life, never healed. Today, Johnnie Taylor's name carries both light and shadow. He's an icon who shaped modern soul and blues, but he's also a man of inner conflict between glory and loneliness, art's love and life's burdens. His songs endure, but behind each melody lies a story of an unfulfilled dream, tangled relationships, and a soul forever seeking peace it never found.